honestly, you need action. Det kan ikke bli jobba. You need.
Just praise God, man. Fucking praise God. God is so amazing. The sun, the nature, the earth, water, the way words work, the way knowledge works, the way love feels. God. Praise God, man.
Mic check. How's my audio? Welcome to the second Atheist reading the Bible. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. There's just juicy shit going on in these YouTube streets. That I don't plan on covering now tonight. Other people are, but tomorrow, I guess I'll go ahead and get out in front of it. Tomorrow, Resto Chesto is going to join me, and we're going to go over and do a walkthrough and just react to the whole recent Mel Pandora production that just came out. If you've seen that, if not, I'm sure you'll know what I'm talking about by then. So that's going to be tomorrow, later tomorrow night. Like I'm in Central Time. I think I'm setting it for like midnight. Today's going to be the same gig as last time. $2 for. I did add the Book of Mormon and the Quran, and I removed all the other junk books. You know, like Morals and Dogma and 48 Laws of Power and shit. So we'll just stick to these books, and $2 a verse. You pick the verse. I then will read it and I guess, you know, discuss it, give my thoughts on it, however you like. And if people send in a payment without specifying the verse, then I'll just choose one at random from the Bible. I did send the link to Joel. If you guys saw the debate last night on Raging Tomato, Joel, the guy on the other side with the mustache, he showed interest in this, so I did send him a link. He said he didn't know if he'd be able to make it or not, but I told him, you know, you've got the link, show up at your leisure if you can. It's all right to show up late. It's all right to, you know, I'm pretty chill. Yep. Everybody's looking forward to that. Do the same. You do the same. What? Hello, Lindsay. Hello, Namaste. Hello, Cheryl. I haven't even look. I'm not even all the way up to speed on it. You guys know that my sleep schedule is. I'm living this streamer life, so I woke up at 4:30 this afternoon. And you know, it's like this is still mid-morning for me. Oh, thank you, Mr. Mister. Good to see you. Good to see True Keys. I think I said hi to Cheryl, John, Wyatt, and anybody else here that I haven't said hi to yet? If so, it's earlier. I see Wrongful Rage back there. Anyways, glad you're all here. I see we've already got one super chat in. If you do send in requests through Cash App, PayPal, Cash App, Ko-fi, PayPal, anything besides a super chat, you might, you know, don't feel bad about reminding me if I haven't seen it, because as much as I try, you know, there's just I can only pay attention to one thing at a time, and so I don't always see those as quickly as I'd like to if it comes in through something besides super chat. And there's Chuck. Hey, good to see you too. Yeah, long time no see. Katie and Sarah went out and had drinks the other night, so. All right. Let's see what we're kicking off with. Oh, Zephyr, new member. Welcome. Thank you. Glad to have you. And since that's the only thing in so far, it might as well get some bombs. You know what, Zephyr? Because it's you're going to get long bombs.
When you hear the sirens or anti-aircraft guns, you must get under cover at once. Take cover at once, but there's no need to rush. If you take things quietly, you will prevent panic in others. You must not stand staring up at the sky. That's the most dangerous thing to do. If you're within 5 minutes of your home, go home, but keep away from the window. Get off the main road and leave it clear for the defense services. For the same reason, park as near to the curb as possible. If you're in the open with no cover, lie down, preferably in a ditch. Never forget to see that your blackout is as black as silk. But the most important rule of all is never to stand staring at the sky. If you don't take cover, you may get hurt.
Ah, door was slamming on me. All right, had to go find my my cigarettes. Let's see. There is nobody's. Oh, wait a second. We might have our first verse in. Mister, thank you very much. Send in $30, and he says 3 verses in chat. So let's see what those are. Mister is by the way, he's a big supporter of this. So and don't get your hopes up. I'm not dangling this out there as bait at all. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to become Christian. But if something weird happens, and I do, I just want to say this in advance. Mister probably gets a decent chunk of the credit for that, because I know Jim Bob's going to try to take it. Look what you found. All right, let me, you know what? I'm going to highlight this comment so that I can come back to it in a bit. There we go. John 3:3. John, Psalms, and then John. All right. I can already say that Psalms, I'm generally pretty cool with Psalms. Proverbs is something I like. I like Proverbs, and I find Genesis fascinating. Let's see. All right, John 3:3. Jesus replied, "Very truly I tell you, no one can see the kingdom of God unless they are born again." Let me share the screen on this. See, so before that, I'm going to do the context around this. Now there was a Pharisee, a man named Nicodemus, who was a member of the Jewish ruling council. He came to Jesus at night and said, "Rabbi, we know that you are a teacher who has come from God, for no one could perform the signs you are doing if God were not with him." And Jesus replied to him, this is the verse, very truly, I tell you, no one can see the kingdom of God unless they are born again. How can someone be born when they are old? Nicodemus asked. Surely they cannot enter a second time into their mother's womb and be born. Jesus answered. This is cool, because that was exactly the question that I had. Like, what does that mean to be born again? Jesus answered, "Very truly, I tell you, no one can enter the kingdom of God unless they are born of water and the Spirit. Flesh gives birth to flesh, but the Spirit gives birth to spirit. You should not be surprised at my saying, you must be born again. The wind blows wherever it pleases. You hear it sound, but you cannot tell where it comes from or where it's going. So it is with everything." All right. So Jesus answers enigmatically. If you were not familiar with religion or Christianity or any of this shit at all, and you looked at this from scratch, I think it's reasonable to assume, or if you saw this in like someone's text message chain, I think it's safe to assume that you would think that they're kind of speaking in code and that we don't actually know what it's referring to. which is, I think, actually accurate of most holy books. What is it? The enlightened, the illuminated, and the profane. I don't believe that I know what Jesus is saying here. I do not believe that what's being communicated here is actually what you're taught is being communicated here at Sunday school or by Joel Osteen. That's just my own theory. I have no proof for it. It's just my instinct and just sort of looking at it and going, well, okay. You have to. No one can enter the kingdom of God unless they're born again. And then he goes on to say, well, no one can enter the kingdom of God unless they're born of water and the Spirit. Flesh gives birth to flesh, but Spirit gives birth to spirit. I don't know what to do with that. It doesn't actually make a lot of sense. So obviously Christians will say, oh, you need to be baptized, right? You need to be baptized and believe in this. That's exactly what you would expect, sort of. I'm trying not to say that word. Okay, I'll do it anyways. A parasitic institution, right? That's exactly what you would expect a parasitic institution to tell you. If there was a place that was just trying to get your money in obedience, and you ask them to interpret that for you, they'd say, "Oh, well, this means that you, all you need to do to get in the spirit of heaven is join us." So this is a big issue that I have with well, really all organized religions. It's not that I think that it's impossible for there to be something going on here worth knowing, and then it's all just, I'm not one of the spaghetti monster people. It's just a fairy tale. I do think that it's ridiculous for us to believe that we would be given the truth, like these and this doesn't just apply to religion. This is for everything. This is for religion. This is for the news. This is for your textbooks in school. Like, think about how much industry there is behind free information. You got free news everywhere. You can't get away from it. It's pumped into you at restaurants, at airports. You've got 18, well, not 18, but you've got what, 12, 15? You've got a whole childhood of not just free, but legally required education where they force feed you free information. So you have to ask yourself, why is there so much manpower behind making sure that I have this information? Is it because these people love me and they want me to be well informed? Probably not. They're getting something out of it. What is it? That's up to you to figure out for yourself. But just the paradigm that we in the West seem to be like stupidly walking around in, like, oh, the free news, oh, the free education. Like, you don't think that these people have any incentive behind making sure that you have this information? I think the same thing about churches and religions. What is the incentive for the institution to give us truth? So let's go to the next one. It's about spiritual awakening. Forget the truth. Yeah, okay. I can get with that, Mr. But our understanding of it, whether or not we're involved with the churches or the institutions, our understanding of it is still the one that they've been handing out, right? So, yeah, we could leave the institution. But the perspective on what he's saying here is still their promotional piece. They just don't convert everybody into a paying customer. Let's see. Now I got to go back, and I lost I know I should have started that. Here we go. Let's see. Psalm 97:10. Let those who love the Lord hate evil. For he guards the lives of his faithful ones and delivers them from the hands of the wicked. All right. I'm with it. It's I have no qualms nor strong feelings either way. It's just a generic, positive little blurb. Mr. Is there anything specifically? If there's anything specifically that you think is worth pointing out here, let me know. And we will move on to John 15 through 18, or John 15, 18 through 21. Okay, John chapter 15, 18 through 21, I think. I think that's what we're doing. All right. The world hates the disciples. Oh, shit. If the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first. Oh, Jesus. If the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first. If you belong to the world, it would love you as its own. As it is, you do not belong to the world, but I have chosen you out of this world. That is why the world hates you. Remember what I told you. A servant is not greater than his master. If they persecute me, they will persecute you also. If they obeyed my teachings, they will obey yours. They will treat you this way because of my name, for they do not know the one who sent me. I'm just going to read this whole section. If I had not come and spoken to them, they would not be guilty of sin. But now they have no excuse for their sins. Whoever hates me hates my Father as well. If I had not done among them the works no one else did, they would not be guilty of sin. As it is, they have seen, and yet they have hated both me and my Father. But this is to fulfill what is written in the law. They hated me without reason. All right. All right. Let me try and be respectful here. This is such a fucking cope. It is the most annoying cope I think I ever hear for like anybody, but Christians do this a lot. I've heard, it's not the only ones that do it, but to take pushback or oh my God, I'm drawing a blank on just basic ass words, or criticism. That's what I was wanting. To take pushback and criticism as an affirmative sign that you're right in the first place is fucking wild. It's fucking wild. It's ignorant as shit. If the world hates you, keep in mind they hated me first. If the world if you belong to, this is giving people a free license to just like hole up in their impossible narcissism. It's a blank check. Yeah, whatever you're saying, whatever people are saying, hey, you might be wrong, or hey, this is kind of fucked up. Doesn't matter. This is justification for fucking everything. You can justify anything with this, not just as I want to do it, but as God said I should do it. This is a crazy, irresponsible verse that justifies everything. because you'll also notice it doesn't, there's no context, there's no specific context given here as to when, you know, when it's okay to use that. I mean, let's look a little earlier. Divine the branches. Nah, this, unless I'm missing something, this looks like it's a generic blank check to do whatever the fuck you want to people, and then they can grab a hold of this. Oh, you just hate me because you hate God. The fuck are you talking about? But actually, that would be one of my big criticisms of Christianity entirely, is that it does actually, because if you read specifically, I know that there are people that will say, no, you've got to do more than just say I believe. But if you read the words of Jesus, you actually don't. So there's one way to heaven, and it's through him. So Christianity in general, and especially more kind of loosey-goosey liberal variants of it, it can be used to justify basically anything, and it's okay because, you know, I'm saved already. But this is exactly the sort of shit that when I encounter it in the wild, it makes my head explode. It's pure, intentional, willful, self-important, self-justified ignorance. You could wholesale disregard any feedback you're getting. I just lost 2 viewers immediately. Get back here. All right. Thank you for the contribution, Mr. Y'all may not agree with me, but at least I'm not lying to you. $5 from OTW Live. Thank you, sir. He says, stop being selfish. If you want change, start by opening your wallet. Oh, correct. Thank you, OTW, for the reminder. I think that's a reminder to everybody else. I don't know why the quotes are there. It's not a Bible verse, but let me give it off to this dude.
Yeah, donate $20 or you're a broke bum. Go ahead, hit that cash app. You know, there's a bunch of yous in the chat right now. You're not donating. You're just running your traps. You know, I don't know if you guys flip burgers at McDonald's or something. I don't know if that's why you guys are that broke, but you come to the show. You love this show. Hit the dono. All right, quit being broke.
Yay. Let's see. Okay. Okay, I just popped up the link that Divine shared, or that Heidi shared earlier. I have seen that. Yes, I appreciate you dropping it by, but I have seen that. I actually went on her stream, or no, she came on one of mine. Anyways, I interacted with that chick a little while after that a couple times, and she's nice. She's nice. Heidi also sends in her tithing. Thank you, Heidi. I appreciate the link and the tithing, and for that, as far as I'm concerned, you're getting into the kingdom of heaven. But that's not my call, really. All I can do is you know, throw in my pay.
Make money, make money, make money, make money, make money, make money. He's a motherfucking woman. He makes money.
And that is correct. The Shroud of Turin is not proven to be 2,000 years old. It's just not. I mean, the Shroud of Turin is one of those things that's so kind of obviously a gimmick. That I'm not saying this to be rude. I'm saying this like with the best reasons, best intentions. Like, y'all should be embarrassed for buying into the Shroud of Turin thing. There we go. Thank you, Lou, with couple of the Book of Mormon. We got our first Book of Mormon. All right, let me pull it up real quick. I'm excited. Alma 1728. It's funny, like even the book names, right? Like, because Alma, my great grandma's name was Alma. It's just an old lady name, right? Like, it's exactly the sort of name you'd expect if the Book of Mormon were written about the time that, like, it'd be like if I were to write a book today, I'd be like, the Book of Katie, the Book of Heidi. All right, let's see. This one. Alma 17. Where's 28? Now, I'm very rusty on the Book of Mormon, but if I remember correctly, there's a lot more wars and shit in the Book of Mormon, isn't there? Isn't it a lot more battles? Now the servant of the king began to murmur, saying, now the king will slay us as he has our brethren, because their flocks were scattered by the wickedness of these men. And they began to weep exceedingly, saying, behold, our flocks are scattered already. I don't know. Am I on the right one? 17. Yeah, 1720. I'm not sure what to do with this. This feels like it's. I don't know that I have any opinion on this. Of course, I'm not familiar with the story that it's in the middle of. Before it says, therefore, as Ammon and the servants of the king were driving forth their flocks to this place of water, behold, a certain number of the Lamanites who had been with their flocks to water, stood and scattered the flocks of Ammon and the servants of the king, and they scattered them insomuch that they fled many ways. All right, so the servants lost the sheep, and the king's going to be pissed. Yeah, makes sense. Now they wept because of the fear of being slain. Now when Ammon saw this, his heart was swollen within him with joy, for he said, I will show forth my power unto these my fellow servants, or the power which is in me in restoring these flocks unto the king, that I may win the hearts of these my fellow servants, and may lead them to believe in my words. Okay, so something bad happened, and this dude's like, hell yeah, I can be a hero now. All right. I mean, I approve of his opportunistic ways. I'm pretty much Mormon because of my grandma's name is Alma, or because of my sister's. That's not the right one. That's the one you said. Try 39. Okay, I'll try 39. Lame dudes equal Lamanites. And when he had driven them afar off, he returned, and they watered their flocks and returned them to the pasture of the king, and then went in unto the king, bearing the arms which had been smitten off by the sword of Ammon, of those who sought to slay. See, this is what I was talking about. There's more war. Of those who sought to slay him, and they were carried in unto the king for a testimony of the things which they had done. So, seems like this saga of the sheep ends with some dudes getting their arms chopped off, and and Ammon, right? Yeah, Ammon. So Ammon cuts off these dudes' arms and brings them back to the king as trophies. That's pretty gangster. I'm not gonna lie. Pretty gangster. Like, that's a hell of a trophy, because it's like wet trophy. I've known people who have kept teeth that they've busted out of people's face and made them into bracelets and shit. Like I know people who have taken that kind of trophy, but that's a tooth, right? Those are dry. If you're bringing back whole ass wet arms, that's that's more badass than I am. All right, let's see what is the other one. And then okay, so 39. Was there another one, Lou, that I think you've got credit for one. Ooh, yeah, ears on necklace. But even that's less like juicy than whole ass arms. What up, Plumpy? They wore the arms. Did they wear them? Bearing the arms which they had smitten off the swords of those. It says bearing, right? So I don't know that necessarily mean it doesn't necessarily mean wearing. It also doesn't necessarily mean not wearing. And they were carried in. I don't think they wore them. I don't think that they wore them. At least not what it says here. Scientists in southern France used new technology to date the shroud to the time of Jesus. Nobody special. I'm going to give you a wrench just for a moment. Grab that link. If you want to drop that link in chat, then I might take a look at it if things... God damn it. Why am I getting weak internet signal? Sorry, uno momento. I had the little weak internet button flashing up. Right, cut arms got a whole new thing. All right. Nobody special. If you're still down there, confirm that you heard me, and I'll give you a wrench for a moment, and we can take a look at that Shroud of Turin, because I'm kind of intrigued. But look, this is a cloth. All right, yeah, I got you. All right, there you go. There's a wrench. I'm fascinated to see what sort of how they did this. How, first of all, let's pretend that you have a 2,000-year-old cloth, blood-soaked cloth, right? Let's just pretend that that's something that would last for 2,000 years. How did you assign this to a specific incident? That's what Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't mean to. I didn't mean to have you lose your religion over this, but yeah, they didn't wear them. But they still look. You don't need to lose all faith because they still carried them back, right? Like, if somebody dropped, and I'm fairly. I've been around violence. I'm okay with it. But if somebody dropped a whole ass arm off with me, like here you go. I heard you. I heard GS was pissing you off. Here's his arm. I'd be like, oh my fucking god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Well, see, Anson, don't you agree? If somebody dropped the arms of your enemies off, like, it'd be like, Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I used to say, and this is something that I observed. You only have to beat a motherfucker up once every like 5 years. And that's what it seems to be. Like, if you know, how do I phrase this? If you make yourself known to somebody in a decisive way, right? People will generally remember that incident for about 5 years, it seems, before you gotta like remind somebody that you're not the one to play with. But yeah, you don't have to keep running around. And if you know what, and I've only ever, that's just with like normal ass street fight shit. I'd imagine that if I knew it, if I cut off somebody's arm and took it as a trophy, I would think that would last longer than 5 years. That would probably have you good for at least 10, if not the rest of your life. What do you mean? They didn't say that when bin Laden was buried at sea with no photos, right? They never let me in, but I am blacklisted. I mean, I don't know that for sure, but I'm pretty positive that I somehow have ended up on a Mormon blacklist, because the last time I had Mormons come by the house, this was years ago, 5 houses ago, they came by, and I was, my sister, I've got a sister that I was raised with, and then I've got 2 half sisters that I didn't even know about until I was like 27 or something. But all my sisters are Mormon. And now I was not raised Mormon. My little sister married into it. But the last time I talked to missionaries was when my sister was engaged to her husband. And the way that Mormon church handles non-Mormons, right, outsiders, it was creating some contention within the family. And so they caught me at a time when I was like, hey, you know what? Normally I tell you guys I'm not interested, but I'm interested right now. Come talk to me. And I kind of gave them a little bit of I had questions for them they didn't have answers for. And they were supposed to come back with their, like, I don't know what you'd call it, like their bishop or whoever's in charge of the local region. And instead, they never came back. But I have noticed that ever since then, I've lived in 5 different places. I've seen Mormon missionaries right out this door, like walking around the neighborhood. I know that they hit these places, but I've never had another knock from a missionary from the Mormon church ever since then. So. Gary, you were kicked out of the Mormon church too? Interesting. All right, here's my link. Thank you, nobody special. I appreciate you. I'm going to remove the wrench, not because I don't trust you, but because I don't know you. Let's see. Let's pop these open. And we got Plumpy dropping in a couple dollars. And Plumpy, thank you for the donos last night during the debate. Sarah runs that shit, but I did see you, a few of you, and I do appreciate you contributing very much. Even if some of the contributions say gay shit at me, you know what? It's worth it. Ephesians 6:12, there is a spiritual war going on. All right, let's look at that. Let's get the whole chapter in on it, just in case. Let's see, the armor. This is in the armor of God section, verse 12. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against their spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. I'm down with that. I agree. I agree. And actually, I probably agree with the prescription here too. Let's see. Put on the full armor of God, because our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers. I mean, like, this Plumpy, you know that this is going to appeal to me, right? Against the rulers, against the authorities, yes, against the powers of this dark. Which, by the way, the authorities in this context would definitely include any institutional church. Therefore put on the full armor of God. And so stand firm then. The belt of truth. Okay. 100% agree with belt of truth. And you can see that with, like, consider how Sarah and I handled the crispy treat thing. Straight out and open, right? That's the only look at the crispy thing handling, and look at how Mel and Resto and Izzy are handling that, right? Clearly just going with full open truth, especially when you're a public figure like this, to the extent that we are, right? Like, you cannot lie for very long. You will get caught. And so yeah, I 1000% agree with that, as truth is one of the prescriptions. Also, side note, this is a fantastic example of why you don't need God to have morals. You can get to morality through self-interest. You absolutely can. And all this, I haven't read all the parts, but the truth part, for instance, that's going to be better for you, except for cops. Don't talk to cops. Don't confess to the judge, right? There's certain caveats, but generally, honesty is going to be better for the person speaking. Righteousness, I don't know specifically what righteousness means. It's kind of like just generic virtue. There's your feet. The gospel of peace. Yeah, I don't know about peace. Like, I'm kind of fighty. Too much peace is boring. But if it's like inner peace, like that, I'm all about. I feel like I have a lot of that. If you can't have internal peace with that, unless there's external peace, you don't have peace at all. You'll never have peace, because the external world's probably always going to be a bit chaotic. But if your internal world is not chaotic, then external chaos is just, I don't know. It's fun to play with, Let's see. The shield of faith. Maybe. Depends on how you mean it. Faith in Jesus. No, I think that's a perversion of what they meant by faith back then, but that's a whole ass rabbit hole to go down later. Flaming arrows you can extinguish the flaming arrows of the evil one. Yeah. Helmet of salvation. Okay. I don't really know what that looks like in practice. The sword of spirit. I don't know what that, which is the word of God. Like the Bible? Nah. I don't know that I believe in that. As a sword. Like, there's nothing worse than people who like use the Bible to cut each other down. Like, that's the shit that makes people not like religious people. All right. There you go. I feel like that was plenty of $2 worth. But you chose a good one. Now let's all right, let's jump over the Shroud of Turin thing. New evidence for the authenticity of the Shroud of Turin. So far, nobody has come up with a credible explanation of how the relic might have been forged. Well, yeah, there is exactly. The Irish Times. Are you Irish? Nobody special? Just out of curiosity. The Shroud of Turin is believed by many to be the burial cloth in which the crucified body of Jesus was laid. Yeah, see, that's crazy to me. That's just this is just people selling fake relic tourism tickets. The Shroud of Turin is a century-old linen cloth bearing the image of a crucified man. It is the most studied artifact in human history. Wow, that's crazy. Okay, if you can see this picture I'm looking at, that does not look like a crucified man. To me, maybe I just don't have eyes to see. Millions of people believe it to be the burial cloth that wrapped Jesus, but many others believe it's a clever hoax. It's not even a clever hoax. The latest scientific examination of the shroud indicates that it goes back to the time of Jesus. Yeah, right. There is patchy historical evidence tracing the shroud back to the 1st century AD, describing how a cloth bearing the image was sent from Israel to Edessa in Turkey and taken from there to Constantinople in 944 AD. Okay, so their oldest reference to this is 1,000 years after the crucifixion. The shroud was stolen from Constantinople during the Fourth Crusade in the 1200s, possibly by the Knights Templar, and brought to Europe. In 73, botanist Dr. Max Fay found pollen grains indigenous to northern Jerusalem within the shroud. He concluded the cloth was exposed to northern Judea, moved to Edessa, and then Constantinople. Around the time the shroud is believed to have come to Edessa, a radical shift occurred in Christian iconography, depicting Jesus with Aryan-like features and long hair, exactly as seen. Imagine that. Exactly as seen on the shroud. The reliably documented history of this shroud dates from 1354, when it was exhibited at Liry in northern central France, acquired by the royal house of Savoy in 1453. It was moved to Turin in 1578, where it has remained ever since in Turin Cathedral. Ownership of the shroud passed to the Catholic Church in 83. This is definitely not real. Holy relics were a big thing during the Middle Ages and antiquities. The black market for antiquities shit still is big business. So obviously there's incentive for somebody to do this, right? To go, yeah, this holy relics were a big thing during the Middle Ages. Body parts were of saints, some genuine, many probably not, crisscrossed Europe. Numerous holy grails, nails, and fragments of the cross did the rounds. It was estimated that there was enough wood in all the true cross relics in circulation to build a merchant cargo ship. Holy fuck. But there were no relics of the body of Jesus because he was taken bodily to heaven. This generated great demand for relics of items closely associated with Jesus. The burial shroud was wrapped Jesus in the tomb would obviously be a highly prized find, and a burial shroud bearing the image of Christ would be a relic hunter's dream. The temptation to fake such a shroud would be irresistible. But to date, nobody has come up with a credible explanation of how the Shroud of Turin might have been forged. It could actually be a burial cloth just 1,000 years later. The faint brownish image on the linen cloth depicts a gaunt man, 1.7 meters or so tall, however tall that is. The man has markings on his body corresponding to the crucifixion of Jesus as described in the Bible. Thorn marks on his head, bruises on the shoulders, lacerations on the back. In 88, an international team of scientists dated the shroud using carbon-14 decay rate technique. They concluded that the fabric originated between 1260 and 1390 AD. Ooh, imagine that. This would rule out the burial shroud of Christ hypothesis and led many people to dismiss the shroud as a clever medieval hoax. But some experts challenged this conclusion on various grounds and also claimed that this study was not properly controlled for surface contamination of the shroud. Of course, this is the most studied artifact in history. Abso-fucking-lutely, there's going to be an expert somewhere who's going to go, oh, look, here's my opportunity. And all the Christians, the biggest religion on earth, are going to be like, yeah, that's our scientist. He's the best scientist ever. So this is definitely an opportunistic move, it would seem to me. In the latest study by Liberato Di Cato, liberate the cat, I think is what that means. And if you translate it to English, liberate the cat. Researchers from Italy's Institute of Crystallography. What the fuck is that? Crystallography is the it's the field that I was in before I got raided for meth distribution. Crystallography. Applied a wide angle X-ray scattering technique to study the shroud. This method analyzes the natural aging of flax cellulose to uncover details of the linen structure and breakdown over time, allowing construction of a timeline from the fabric's manufacture. This analysis dates the shroud's origin to the 1st century AD, supporting its authenticity. All right, I'm going to pop the latest study open a new tab so we can check out that. The researchers also found that the data profiles of the shroud were consistent with profiles of Israeli linens from the period. But when the shroud was compared with linens from medieval periods, no similarity was found. The story of the Shroud of Turin is fascinating, which is why I bring it to your attention. The case for the authenticity of the shroud is far from proved. The Catholic Church makes no claims for it or against its authenticity as a relic of Jesus Christ, although some of you probably suspect that I'm secretly acting as an agent on behalf of the church. That was those, man. If that's the best little like joke you got to end on, then just don't end on a joke. That was terrible. Terrible, terrible. All right. I'm gonna let's this is the link where it took me to a new study, X-ray dating of a Turin shroud's linen sample. On a sample of the Shroud of Turin, we applied a new method for dating ancient linen threads. Okay, so this is a new method. Gonna try this out. That's the first red flag. So they took a thread out of it and then used a new method for dating. And I don't understand all this shit. What I do try to look for with these sort of things is things like that. Like the first thing, a new method. Okay, why did these people think that the previous thing was not right? Informed consent statement, conflict of interest. So I look for conflict of interest section. But what I really like to look for is the normally these have a funding. It tells who funded them or funded the study. Although it didn't jump out at me here on this one. Unless I missed it. Yeah, I don't see a funding thing. Let's see what Liberate the Cat is. Can I click through? All right. So this is Dr. Liberate the Cat. Microcalcifications in breast cancer tissue. So this guy, Shroud of Turin, this dude is concerned with that method of the X-ray, the new X-ray imaging technique. The Galenic question, a solution based on historical sources. The method, I don't know what that is. So I don't. Human brains have shrunk. That's scary, but not surprising. X-raying tendons of cattle, horses. So this is an X-ray dude. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, my conclusion is the same. I think that this is too hot of the Shroud of Turin, like it said. I'm surprised, sort of, but it's the most studied artifact of all time. Of course, there's going to be somebody who's going to find some way to capitalize on the opportunity and say, I proved it's real. Absolutely. There probably always will be. In this case, I think that we can use common sense to debunk the fuck out of it. And we can say, look, this thing didn't show up until like 1,200 years after Jesus' death. And there's a massive incentive to create something that would be incredibly valuable. Oh, yeah, thank you. Woo. That'd be very valuable. Obviously, there's incentive there. And it's cloth. The fact that it's even lasted this long is pretty amazing. Oh my God, I am behind. I'm behind. I got distracted by that Shroud of Turin. Oh yeah, and look under my name here. If you can see that, it says Ad Majorem Dei Gloriam. I forgot that was there. It means in Latin, it's for the greater glory of God. And it's a Jesuit slogan. Last night during the debate, I don't remember who it was. Somebody said, maybe it was Anson. Somebody said that I'm just I'm like an undercover Jesuit or something. I did go to a Jesuit high school. I'm not even Catholic, but I did go to Jesuit high school. So that's at the time I had no idea how like the Jesuits like what, just some priests, right? Like I didn't give a fuck about it. But then since then it's like, oh, this institution's kind of expanding, in my mind, like, oh, they're like the Knights Templar and da 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 da. And so yeah, it is true that I have Jesuit connections. I went to a Jesuit high school. Am I still a Jesuit? I don't know. Let's see, where am I at now? New member Gary Baxter. Welcome, Mr. Gary. Anson Knoll says, you think with all that advanced science ability studying that garment, you would think that the Christians would figure out evolution. Yeah, but evolution is dumb as well. Like macroevolution is dumb. Speciation, I suppose. People who are down with evolution sometimes don't or distinguish speciation. I think that we can obviously, if by evolution you're talking about like different breeds of dogs and shit, like obviously that's a thing. But it's all within the same species. If you're talking about like a nematode turning into a human, that it just doesn't. It's kind of fucking retarded, honestly. Or I'm dumb. I might be dumb, but I don't think I am. I've got actually pretty good evidence that I'm smarter than most people. But of course, that evidence could just be my own dumbness rearing its ugly head once again. Plumpy drops $2 more. Says, look in the Shroud further. Okay, 10 commandments. Well, I already looked in the Shroud quite a lot. And 10 Commandments. I'll come back to the 10 Commandments if you kind of double dipped. This is a double dip, hey, but if I get caught up, then I'll go back to the 10 Commandments. That's Jesus. Jansen. Sacre bleu. He says that's Jesus' whack off sock, not his shroud. You should be able to lift some holy. Oh my God. I wash my hands of you, Anson. Oh shit, I'm caught back up already. All right, let's look at the 10 Commandments. You know what? That is true. That is true. I'm not prepared for a hot chick tonight to help me. I'm not prepared. But hot chicks generally make everything better. Really? Like, it's true. And I got this food right here. I got a double cheeseburger, baked potato. Mrs. Flo hooks it up. So that's what I'm saying. What am I gonna? Let's stall for a minute. I'm gonna stall for a minute. Was there any part of the debate last night? Because I feel like there's something that we can get into here. And I want to play some of it so that I could eat my food and you guys could not just watch me smacking on the microphone. Any particular part of it that was requested? Had it open on a tab somewhere. Here we go. This will work. Because I remember at the time last night, like having in my head, like I could talk about that, right? Like there was things that I lost track of, but that I remember thinking like, oh, this is something I should touch on. The tag argument that they used doesn't work. And I'm not just saying that like the debate's over now. This is not just me arguing against their side. This is me going, I've encountered this argument quite a few times now. I think I've got a good grasp of it. It just doesn't work. So let me they also relied really heavily on their opening statement. This is what I believe happened. I believe that their strategy was to write out their whole thing in the opening statement, just lay down their claim. Boom, boom. This is as good as we can make it. And then after we lay out our claim, we're going to attack Craig and try to get him to spurg out and rage quit like the whoever that was, the pussy atheist did previously. I think that was their tactic. It did not work, but while I eat this burger, we might check out their introductions, their opening statements. How about that, y'all?
Kick off with you for opening statements, Alex.
Yeah, thank you
Here, let me slow this down a little bit.
so much for being here, everybody. I appreciate you guys. You can find me on YouTube. I do a lot of debates, stuff like that. And let's get started. Proverbs 1:7 says that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. And this truth is echoed throughout the entire Bible. The Bible is clear that no knowledge can be had apart from God. All knowledge assumes the truth of the Christian worldview. Whatever you claim to know.
Yeah, right off the bat. Like, what a fucking claim. Okay. No, I have no doubt that the church claims that, or that the Bible claims that. That's the sort of thing you would expect from a cult, right? But so what? I can claim it. Like I said yesterday, hold on. You know what? Let me cam back up for a second. No truth comes to us except by the grace. I need to get a light pointed on it. By the grace of the Limp Bizkit poster. So what? So what if somebody makes a claim?
Something, the foundation for that knowledge is the fear of the Lord. Now, this debate isn't merely about winning. Souls are literally at stake tonight. In fact,
Night,
during
summer
this
time.
debate, you may receive more light and truth than you ever have before, and God will hold you accountable for what you do with it. If you don't repent of your sins and place your faith in Jesus Christ, there will be no hope for you. My sister was just in a really bad car accident. She's okay. She has some major injuries, but she's recovering well.
And again, oh yeah. I don't know if I'm gonna be too busy responding to this to eat this food. Doing the normal preaching thing, get some fear mongering in there, right? Terrible logic. Support it with fear mongering. You're gonna go to hell if you don't believe me, and then segue right into a heartwarming, emotion tugging story about your sister. That has nothing to do with the topic. Glad to hear she's okay. Nothing to do with it though at all. Just exploiting it.
It was just a sober reminder that any moment can be your last. She didn't wake up that day thinking she was going to end up laying in a pool of her own blood on the pavement of the highway. Something to think about. The Bible says that we all innately know that God exists, but we suppress that truth because of our unrighteousness. This is evident in the fact that every time we open our mouths and make statements about reality, we assume the God we deny. And the argument starts like this. If humans know things, then the Christian worldview is true. If humans know things, therefore the Christian worldview is true. For tonight's discussion, we'll use the simple philosophical definition of knowledge, justified true belief. The key problem is, how do we know if a belief is true or justified? Imagine I stop at my usual gas station after work. I pay with my card, insert the pump, pull the trigger, let it run for 10 minutes, hang it up, and drive home. Later, when my wife asks me, hey, is the gas tank full? I'll answer, yeah, I just filled it. She goes out to the car. It doesn't start. There's no gas in the tank. It turns out the gas tank had a hole in it, and I didn't notice, and it leaked all over the street on the way home. In this case, I merely had a false belief that my gas tank was full, not knowledge, because it wasn't actually true that my tank was full. Now, what if my gas tank didn't have a hole in it, but I was 70 years old and had dementia? I stop at the gas station, put the pump in my gas tank, and pull the trigger. The gas dispenses, and I fill my tank. My wife asked me, hey, is the gas tank full? And I answer, yes, of course, I just filled it. She goes out, she starts the car, and the tank is indeed full. The issue is I have dementia, and it wasn't me that filled my tank. It was one of my children who loves to help me out, and I just remembered wrong because I have dementia. It's true that my tank is full, but my justification was no justification at all. I had a true belief, but not knowledge. This illustrates why knowledge must be infallibly true and undoubtedly justified.
Yeah.
That's okay. I ain't even mad at that. I expect that. And I ain't even mad at it. There's juicy drama going on right now.
The only alternative is fallibilism, which claims that knowledge doesn't require a justification value of 100%. The problem with this is that any level under 100% is completely arbitrary. There's no principled reason why it should be 99 or 51%. So it follows that if it's arbitrary, I can use whatever level I want, including less than 1%. And if fallibilism is true, my belief in God could be less than 1% probable, and it must be considered knowledge. Lastly, if the only way to know something is to know it infallibly, then it may seem that God can only know things. Well, not really. Is it possible that God could reveal things to us such that we can know them infallibly? The eternal, holy creator and sustainer of all things. That God can most definitely reveal things to us such that we can know them. In fact, this is the only way we can know things. Without
There's no way. See, and this is the issue. Not only, I mean, they're just lying, right? Like, I'm not saying these two guys are. I'm saying that this argument is a lie. Just because you claim you know something doesn't mean you know something. There's no paradigm that you can conceive of in which me being just crazy is no longer an option, right? That's always an option for everybody at any time. It is possible, even if unlikely, it is possible that we are actually crazy as fuck and the things we think are happening are not. Nothing in Christianity removes that. They just lie about it. So this is just like, this argument is just a straight up lie. I'm not saying either of these guys are. I think they're good guys. I enjoyed both of them. And actually, I sent Joel the link to tonight, so he may still show up. He may not. He said he didn't know if he'd be able to make it tonight, but I expect to see more of him in the future. But this argument is just honestly a straight up lie.
Without general and special revelation from God, we cannot know anything, and that's what we will demonstrate in this debate.
Thank you. And Joel, to you.
All right, my name is Joel Sedekase. I'm the founder of and president of the Think Institute. We're a Christian teaching and outreach organization aimed at helping regular believers to articulate, share, and defend the truth of the Christian worldview. Let's talk about knowledge. When it comes to knowledge, there are two possible levels. The first level, the primary level, consists of certain necessary beliefs. These cannot be false. For an infallibilist, someone who says that belief must be certain to be justified, these are the only kinds of beliefs that actually count as knowledge. But then there's the level 2 beliefs. These are the uncertain beliefs. They're contingent. They may be false, but given the fallibilist view of knowledge, they can count as knowledge. Level 2 beliefs are warranted when they are produced by truth-seeking faculties functioning according to their design at seeking truth in a favorable environment. Now, atheism undercuts knowledge at both levels. Any attempted certainty without God leads to an infinite regress of justification. I know A because of B, I know B because of C, ad infinitum. This leads to radical uncertainty about literally every belief. Without certainty, there can be no infallible, certain beliefs.
Yes, I agree. It does undercut certainty that you don't have. You don't have that certainty. Right. That what it's really undercutting is the deceit that you're giving yourself and other people that listen to you. Right. I mean, you heard it there. Without this paradigm, then we don't know shit we don't know. Well, that's right, buddy. You don't know what you don't know. I'm sorry. It may be uncomfortable. You may not like it. You may wish you knew the information that you don't have, but you don't have it. So anyways, Sasquatch, I see you in back. As you can tell, I'm eating food and kind of reviewing this real quick while I eat food. You're welcome to jump on stage or not, at your leisure. Let's see. Let me get back to this. Oops, need to unmute it.
Undermined. Without God, there's no warranties. But level 2 beliefs are also undermined. Without God, there's no warrant for trusting our faculties or the intelligibility of our environment. Now, God, on the other hand, does ground knowledge. First, God is the necessary precondition for level 1 beliefs. For example, laws of logic, which are certain. They are immaterial, absolute, objective, universal, and one and many. God has all these attributes, and so God grounds logic, mathematical principles, moral absolutes, and obligations. God is necessary for these certain, justified, true beliefs. And from these primary beliefs, we come to the level 2 beliefs, the ones that are uncertain, but which some people may want to call knowledge.
Something else that's growing increasingly irritating to me is the way that Christians keep trying to usurp things that they don't get credit for, like knowledge, math, right? Like morals. Like, bro, get the fuck back in your lane.
In order for them to be warranted, we must have truth-seeking faculties aimed at truth functioning according to design in a favorable environment. But if you take God out of the equation, there is no reason for thinking that any of those things obtain. With God, of course, they are all there. They're all justified. God is necessary for contingent, warranted beliefs. Now, here is our opponent's problem. They have to come here and seem as though they are certain that God is not necessary for knowledge. But they abandoned certainty when they abandoned God. Despite the implications of their position, which does lead to radical uncertainty, radical skepticism. You're not going to hear radical skepticism tonight. You're not going to hear radical uncertainty. They're going to act like they are certain. Why? Because they know what we know, what you know, that there is no escaping the truth. God is there, and God is necessary for knowledge.
Thank you, Joel. Craig, to you.
Okay, yeah. So another one of these debates where we take a perfectly reasonable question about knowledge and jam God into it like an unwanted pop-up ad. The question at hand is God required for knowledge? But before we even get to that, we need to address the sneaky little trick hidden in the question, because this is actually two debates in a trench coat. The first part asks about knowledge, but lurking right underneath is, does God even exist? Because if God doesn't exist, then asking if he's required for knowledge is like asking if unicorn tears are required for hydration. The answer isn't just no, it's what the hell are you even talking about? Let's be clear, nobody has ever proven the existence of God, not once, ever. The best we've gotten are philosophical word games, ancient texts that contradict themselves, and the occasional just look at the trees argument. So if my opponents want to argue that God is necessary for knowledge, they first need to prove that God exists. And if they could do that, they wouldn't be debating me on the internet. They'd be out there claiming their Nobel Prize, shaking hands with world leaders, and probably launching some tax-exempt megachurch. But hey, let's humor the idea for a second to pretend that knowledge only exists because some cosmic overseer is handing out like party favors. That would be a bit weird though, wouldn't it? Because atheists, agnostics, and skeptics all still manage to know things. Scientists make discoveries, doctors save lives, engineers build bridges, all without requiring a single divine permission slip. Even dogs who, as far as I can tell, have never attended Sunday school, still know when it's dinner time. And then there is, this is where the presuppositionists roll in with their favorite move. But how do you justify logic without God? As if logic is some magical artifact that God forged in the divine realm and bestowed upon humanity like an overly complicated IKEA instruction manual. The answer is simple. Logic works because reality is consistent. We use it because it gets results. We don't need a celestial babysitter to explain why fire burns hot, why objects fall, or why touching an electric fence with your tongue is a bad idea. So let's recap. In order to prove that God is required for knowledge, my opponents first have to prove that God exists. Then they have to prove that knowledge specifically comes from him and not from our own ability to observe, test, and reason. That is a big ask. And given that the thousands of years of religious philosophy still hasn't pulled it off, I'm not exactly holding my breath. But hey, maybe tonight's the night, or my opponent cracks the case. Maybe they've got the one argument that will change history forever, or maybe they just repeat some warmed over, already debunked nonsense and call it a day. Let's find out.
Thank you so much, Craig. Flow to you.
Oh, yeah. All right. All right, I'm kind of back. I'm mostly back. Ate most of my food. Anson Knowles, $2 more, says, tag equals, do you have a mind equals God exists? Yeah, it's a non sequitur. And it rests like somewhere on the in the dissonance between words and the things they're describing, right? It's like confusing the map for the territory. And I go into that more in that debate some, or touch on it more. How basically all these philosophical sort of tag like arguments where, well, this exists before this, right? If this and this, those logical sequences are all built out of language more than they are built out of the reality being described by language, right? Like the law of identity. A lighter can't be a cell phone charger because we've defined a lighter already, right? Linguistically, we've said that this is what a lighter is, and this is what a cell phone charger is. So that's that. Now, if we said household items, if that's the word that we're using, then sure, then they could both be the same thing in that context. So you can zoom in, you can zoom out. Ultimately, all that the laws of logic, all three of them are describing, is that a thing is the thing and not a different thing. So then when we do these little thought experiments or philosophical debates where we're trying to wield that truth around like it's going to win battles, we're just playing around with like it's like the float on a check. You know how you know what kiting is? You can kite checks. Like you can make a deposit into your account and then spend the money before the funds on that have actually been received. And by the time that the check bounces that you deposited, you've already spent the money that they credited you in advance. It's kiting. And it seems like with these arguments, they're doing something like linguistic kiting. And Inked sent $2. Says, I sent some support on Cash App. All right, I'll check that out right now. W Stream, thank you very much for the support. Let me check out this Cash App right now. I'm glad you enjoy it. There's a handful of people who really like this topic. I like this too. That's why I'm willing to do it. I do enjoy these conversations, assuming that I can have them with people. Talking about religion in from a detached perspective is almost impossible with many people, right? Oh, no verse. All right. Well, thank you, Inked, for the support. I do appreciate it. And I am doing this every Tuesday, by the way. So, at least for now, that's the plan. And so far, I've done 2 weeks in a row. So, that's pretty good trend of me sticking to a schedule, which I hate. Just got here. Can you summarize what's going on for me? No, absolutely not. I think that this is a sarcastic request. Cannot do that. But thank you for the contribution. Yes, Mr. I recognize you. And actually, there's a lot of people actually watching now that are able to do that. But I would expect that out of my audience, right? Like, I hold you guys to a higher standard than other people because you're better than other people. But yeah, no, I would expect that anybody who clutches like yesterday during the debate, when I put on my Pope hat, there's a couple people in Sarah's chat who like immediately were like, blasphemy. First of all, shut the fuck up, you pussy. Second of all, I put on a hat that a dude wears. They're doing this thing that is so common where they confuse the man for the God. That's part of the problems with churches and institutions, is somehow me mocking a pope has turned into me mocking God, even though probably the person who said that, I doubt they were even Catholic. I just say I would say the odds are stacked against them being Catholic. Maybe they were, but to go yell blasphemy at making fun of a church that you'll even denounce yourself, that's wild. It's instinctual. These people are emotional and reactive and don't engage their brain at all, which is part of the logical issue with religion as presented by churches, right? Well, even the Bible. Don't think, have faith. Don't eat of the tree of knowledge. Have faith. Don't interpret the Bible for yourself. We'll tell you. Lucifer's associated with knowledge. The entire Christian paradigm is structured around a hatred or a disdain for knowledge. That's fucking nuts. There's basically two tools, as far as I can tell, that whatever, let's say God, let's operate from that paradigm. God gave us two tools to know things, to understand things. One is our sense data, which is how we get all information. The other is logic and reasoning, right? We're able to think through it. God gave us a brain. Why the fuck would we ignore those right? Like, obviously, humans, our brain is our greatest tool. We're not faster or stronger than any other animals. We got better brains. You're the best predictor of economic success for somebody, aside from whether or not you were born. If you're born rich, that's the best predictor. The second best one is IQ. Obviously, intelligence is a huge asset, and knowing things has huge benefits. So anybody that's trying to gut knowledge entirely as a thing, as evil, is doing so for evil, because they don't want you to be able to think for yourself. Get the fuck away from those people. Get the fuck away from the church. I just wanted 30 seconds recap of the show so far. LOL. I appreciate the support. Smoking Otter, I know that you've been around long enough. You've seen my tips on how to be a good, or how to not be a shit panelist or whatever. How did I phrase that?
I summed it up for him already.
Okay, yeah. Anyways, I'm just going through the starred ones, the paid comments. So thank you for the $2. Did the Jesus folk recover that prostitute's thong? The chick that washed Jesus' feet? That's an artifact. Thongs sell better than shrouds, asked Nala. Was that a prostitute? I don't think that was a prostitute, was it? I don't think so. I think that was just like the sister of somebody whose house they were staying at. Yes. Truth or Cop is correct. Let's get those. Let's get some bombs in here. We'll hit. You know what? No peace. No peace on top of you.
Oh yeah, all men and women have the right to use
Oh my God, is that
it? And here, you know what? Because I amuse myself, I'll go ahead and play the. I've already released this as a members only video and also publicly on the Flow State Clips channel, which is linked in the description box. But since I cracked me up, I'll play the newest little quick video that I uploaded. If you have not seen it, it's very short. Okay, thank you.
Today, being retarded means leading a full life. Retarded people go to work or school just like their neighbors and come back to a real home, a supervised home, right in the neighborhood where they belong. Being retarded never stopped anyone from being a good neighbor.
That's all. So I found a compilation of 80s commercials that had aged poorly, and that was actually I have the.
Today, being retarded means leading a full life. Retarded people go to work or school just like their neighbors and come back to a real home, a supervised home, right in the neighborhood where they belong. Being retarded never stopped anyone from being a good neighbor.
So I just played around with a little bit. I'm going to delete that and clear out some space back here. I'm not as familiar with Islam, but from what I know about it, I think all the same things about it that I think about Christianity. Right. Most of my criticisms of Christianity also apply to Islam and Judaism. I'm just less familiar with them, but most of the big ones are going to apply. You're not retarded enough. You're retarded. I only had 20 seconds worth of audio to work with, and there are more retarded people than you. No, Lou was not in that. Lou Bass, he was not there. Did you super chat jokes? I mean, sure. Send in a super chat with a joke about Muhammad. I don't care. Thank you. Chug, my pop. They maybe could. My mic was. Oh no, I think I was muted because of the audio. No. I think the same about Islam as I do about Christianity. They are all religious nuts. Yeah. I think that the impression that I get from what I have interacted with between Islam and Christianity, I would say that I think that as a culture, I would much rather live in a Christian society than a Muslim one, for sure. As far as individuals, I don't think I've ever interacted with a Muslim I've never encountered a Muslim who's as fucking rude as some of the Christians I meet. Christians have a tendency to get, like, think about Smith, Toilet Bowl Earth, Snafu, like, they just sort of get drunk and run around in angry, hostile packs. I had to kick Jill out the other night because, and I did the same thing with Generally Specific. These Christians have a really bad look of when they meet a Muslim or somebody who's not Christian, of treating them like shit, because of that explicitly. And God, that's a bad look for Christians that Muslims don't have at all. Especially when we're talking about religion, like Tarek can be a douche in his own way, but when we're having religious discussions, Muslims are very respectful, and that's a good look on them. But I think that I'd definitely rather live in a Christian society than in a Muslim one. Request you read your favorite Bible verse you've learned. You're talking about the song of the breast like flowers or whatever. I don't remember what it was. You're gonna have to remind me. I don't know any Muhammad jokes off my head. I mean, send in one with a super chat if you want. I frequently get Christians doing whataboutisms, like, well, you wouldn't say that about Muslims. Like, well, I don't encounter nearly as much Muslims as I do Christians, and I don't encounter the problems that with Muslims I do with Christians. But don't mistake that as special reverence for Islam. Like, see, look at the thing. I'll read Quran verses as well. And if you send in it with a super chat, I'll tell a Muhammad joke. But I'm not going to go out here and shit on Islam to appease the Christians who are mad at me for shitting on Christianity, which is what I'm talking about at the time. Or, where was it that time? But I ain't got nothing to prove. Yeah, Jay's charismatic and entertaining. He's a douche. So I ain't mad at you for liking him. I'm just going to keep poking at him. I feel like I've got open-ended business with Jay. I believe Islam is the Mesopotamia worship of the demon Baal. Okay, interesting. Why? Have you read the Book of Mormon? No, I have not. Not the whole thing. I've picked up little parts of it here and there, but I have not read it like I've read the Bible. I listened to it on tape. I think you could probably do a funny reading of it and talking about it. I like how they came here in subs with glowing rocks. Also, Lou did buy a couple of Book of Mormon verses earlier, including in one in which these dudes cut off their enemies' arms and took them home as trophies. That's dope. All right. Tara wants Psalm 69. I see you, Tara.
I can't wait to get my dick wet.
All right, let me share the screen and we'll pull up Psalm 69. Now, it's $2 a Bible verse, not a whole ass chapter. We'll take a look at how long Psalm 69 is, though. Yeah, I mean, this is properly like, what is that, $74? I'll do a few verses. Save me, O God, for the waters have come up to my neck. I sink in the miry depths where there is no foothold. I have come into the deep waters. The flood engulfed me. That's crazy. Though, that what a synchronicity that Psalm 69 is about wet. And I played the clip. I can't wait to get my dick wet. I am worn out calling for help. My throat is parched. All right. There you go. There you go. And I agree with this. And I've said this a bunch of times. I actually feel like I get along better with Christians than I do with atheists. I think that atheists tend towards, for some reason that I still haven't figured out, atheists tend to be pussies. I don't know why. It's disappointing. But yes, I agree. I like most Christians, and you know what? I'll even chalk it up and say that, like like I was mentioning earlier, the Smiths and them, the drunk asshole Christians I meet, I don't actually think that that's a feature of Christianity that's special. I think it's just an exposure thing. I just am around to a lot more Christians than any other religion, so that's to be expected. Sometimes I like chugging my cherries. Snow. Okay, so you said 0. Damn it. I love cherry 7-Up, and it seems like it's one of those pops that nobody. So that's, but not 0, not 0. It's got to be the regular full sugar. I don't drink that shit. What am I giving time, Casper? So I think that the funniest one is, like, I think you sent it to me. Oh, was it the Song of Solomon or something? Where he's like your breath is like a sun on my cock, and your breasts are like mountains. It's just like, it was wild. Do it for Judaism. I think that Judaism. I don't think that Judaism operates in the same way that Christianity or Islam does. It's not trying to gain converts. So I don't know that I think that they're like living in a Jewish society. I just don't know that I really think that's a thing. Even Israel, right, is pretty secular in how it functions. I believe. I've never been there. But no, I don't really have. I think that the Jewish society would be basically a secular society. Yeah, I don't have any other really thoughts on it. I don't think that I haven't really met many rude Jews, but they're also less inclined to engage in, at least as far as I've experienced, they don't run around the internet debating theology the same way that the rest of us do. Yeah, they're really not interested in you joining. It doesn't seem like so. Matthew 12:22 through 28. All right. Now, you guys, you're taking advantage of the $2 per verse thing. I'm going to let it fly because I appreciate the support, but just know that I know. Let's see. Which am I on? Matthew 12. Then what verses were we on here? 22 through 28. Then they brought him a demon-possessed man who was blind and mute, and Jesus healed him so that he could both talk and see. All the people were astonished and said, "Could this be the son of David?" But then the Pharisees heard this and said, "It is only by Beelzebub, the prince of the demons, that this fellow drives out demons." Jesus knew their thoughts and said to them, "Every kingdom divided against itself will be ruined, and every city or household divided against itself will not stand. If Satan drives out Satan, he is divided against himself. How then can his kingdom stand? And if I drive out demons by Beelzebub, by whom do your people drive them out? So then they will be your judges. But if it is by the Spirit of God that I drive out demons, then the kingdom of God has come upon you. Pause. Oh my God, I'm too immature for this. Don't you clear your throat at me. They heard that one for sure. All right. I think that Jesus had a fantastic response here. Like, honestly, that's a great response. He made a great point back. It's just a damn shame. I'm such a degen. Oh. Shit. All right, let me get there. I'll get there. All right. Let's get this up. All right, Sasquatch, you can. I see you're welcome to come up or down at your own leisure. I'm probably not going to go much longer because there is a lot of juicy drama tonight. But as far as dollars are tricking in, I'll keep tricking verses. What am I on? Esther 89. Okay, I think I regained my composure from what the Spirit of the Lord did to you. I can't believe the Spirit of the Lord did that to those people. At once the royal secretaries were summoned on the 23rd day of the third month of the month of Sivan. They wrote out all Mordecai's orders to the Jews and to the satraps, governors of nobles of the 127 provinces stretching from India to Kush. These orders were written in the script of each province and the language of each people, and also to the Jews in their own script and language. Mordecai wrote in the name of King Xerxes, sealed the dispatches with the king's signet ring, and sent them by mounted couriers who rode fast horses, especially bred for the king. Is this the right verse? I think it's very interesting from a historical standpoint, but Esther 8:9. Yep, it says it's the right place. Interesting. So Xerxes, I believe, if I'm remembering right, was, first of all, that was the dude from 3. I hear you. Is there a
Yes. All right, so the satraps were established by Alexander the Great as he traveled across the Kush region, attempting to find the edge of the world or the Ark of the Covenant or whatever reason you want to give for him going to India. On his way back, he did 2 things. One, he left one group of people there to build ships, and they came around through the Red Sea and met back up in Egypt. The other group marched across the Sinai Peninsula. Only about half of those, maybe less, survived. In the process of that march across the Sinai Peninsula, he went on to establish at least 2 or 3 additional satraps that have never been found. It is an interesting bit of archaeology, and this falls, I believe, on the heels. I think it was Darius, Xerxes' son, or Darius II, Xerxes' grandson, that was fighting Alexander at the time.
All right. Our autistic, thank you for the autism. That shit is interesting. Okay, I was mixing up with Cyrus. How is Cyrus related to Xerxes? Are they?
I think Cyrus was Xerxes' father. Cyrus attempted to take, he fought the Battle of Marathon against basically Leonidas's father, I think. And Leonidas's father didn't send the Spartans to fight Cyrus. He sent a single Spartan to Athens to build an army to defeat Cyrus at Marathon, knowing that Cyrus would invade at Marathon because that was the most likely place. So he basically outmaneuvered him before they ever sent the army.
Do you know what the Cyrus cylinder is?
Isn't that is that a coding method?
So no, it's the Cyrus cylinder is an ancient clay cylinder now broken in several pieces, on which is written a royal inscription in cuneiform script. It's from the 6th century BC. It's basically an ancient Bill of Rights.
Right. It's sort of like the laws that he won't do. Like he's not going to oppress you in these ways.
Lines 1 through 19, an introduction reviling the previous king of Babylon and associating Cyrus with the god Marduk. Lines 20 through 22 detail Cyrus's royal titles and genealogy and his peaceful entry into Babylon. Lines 22 through 34, a commendation of Cyrus's policy of restoring Babylon. 34 through 35, a prayer to Marduk on behalf of Cyrus and his son. 36 and 37, a declaration that Cyrus has enabled the people to live in peace and has increased the offerings made to the gods. Lines 38 through 45 details the building activities of ordered by. Okay, so basically this is a kind of a bad description, but he, he's conquering land, and he would not only allow each different place to keep their gods, he actually supported the gods and built them churches and shit. And it was a great way of taking over.
After raising the ones that were already there to the ground.
Did he? I don't recall.
I mean, that's how you take over. When you're talking early Bronze Age or earlier, you take over the city. If you don't take the church, you really haven't affected the population yet. The government can come or go. It could be you or them. They don't care. But if you want to actually influence the population, you need whatever religious establishment is handy.
Yeah. Anyways, this verse just reminded me about that because I was mixing up Xerxes and Cyrus, but also because of how, I don't know, just of course you'd have to communicate it with the language that people use, but it just the way that he did different languages for each different people, and I don't know, just jogged my memory. Let's see. What? You're not going to let chat come up on the panel? Look, Smoking Auditor, I don't know if you're aware. There's a lot of good drama popping off.
Like drama wrinkles are itching. His brain is on fire. Can't you tell? He's falling behind by the minute.
No, I'm already not getting in front of this. I woke up. I haven't even heard all the shit that came out. But yeah, no, I need to get. Look. Praise God.
Holy cows, man.
Huh. What are you holy cowsing me for?
I'm just saying. I'm trying to do a jackism. It doesn't sound the same coming from me.
Nah. So no, I am not. Jom 1135. Let's do it. Let's do Jom.
Good luck.
Wait, this one. All right. Jesus wept.
Nice.
Is it?
That's what I thought it was. That's why I was like, good luck. I figured he'd get a good chuckle out of it.
Oh my God. Is Jesus weeping because this is a short stream and I'm not opening the panel?
Yep. That's exactly what's up.
That was really well played.
Yeah. Nice.
That was good. I forgot to even put a banner up to hit the like. Hit the fucking like if you haven't done it yet. I am going to close up shop. I thank you people for supporting. We'll do this again next week. And hopefully I'll get that dude that I debated last night and we can do it with a little bit more attention, a little bit more audience. But tonight, praise God, shit's popping off. And not just in one place either. We're going to Neves. We're all going to Neves. So you'll catch that one with the Mel shit. There's other shit too that's not as out in the open. That's with a whole different thing. Man, I just can't even do it. We gotta go.